this guy have the video one running up because I want to get to the Kamala Harris stuff off the beginning because there's a lot of implications on that one going across the board on Kamala going finally suspending her campaign. And just for a few of you that out there, the reason they don't announce that they're quit because if they quit or say the campaign's over, then they only have a few days to close out the bank accounts, everything else. She will, I will say, most likely she will use her influence as California senator to pay off her campaign debts. So that's the main reason why they suspend their campaign. If you listen to that, and they are not quitting or saying it's over on that. So she's a real piece of work. What's interesting though, to me, is the old white guy, Joe Biden, is getting most of the black support. She hardly didn't get any of it, and being her claiming, that she's African American. Well, let's say that, but I mean, I think she's from Jamaica and Canada. How you make that leap? To each his own. But she didn't really gain a lot of that. She was down to 2% in the polls, and some of the polls in single digits. Looks like even Bloomberg, who just announced that he's in the race, was pulling away from her on the deal. So it was that, but there was a couple of deals, and I think Tulsi Gabbard, the congresswoman who is running for president, been in the Democratic debates from Hawaii, who was on there, said. She commented on the stuff of that. She had a real good, her and Kamala had a real good exchange going up in the July debate, but we covered it on the November debate. They had another little interaction on it. So have video one up and ready to go on that. And as soon as you got her queued up, play video one. Here's Kamala Harris at the November 20th debate.
Who is attempting to be the Democratic nominee for President of the United States, who during the Obama administration spent 4 years full-time on Fox News criticizing President Obama.
That's
who
ridiculous,
has spent full-time criticizing people on this stage as affiliated with the Democratic Party. When Donald Trump was elected, not even sworn in, buddied up to Steve Bannon to get a meeting with Donald Trump in the Trump Tower, fails to call a war criminal by what he is as a war criminal, and then spends full time during the course of this campaign, again, criticizing the Democratic Party. What we need on the stage in November is someone who has the ability to win. And by that, we need someone on that stage who has the ability to go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump, and someone who has the ability to rebuild the Obama coalition and bring the party and the nation together. I believe I am that candidate.
Okay, stop it right there and hold it.
Congresswoman Gabbard, I'll give you a
on both counts, that's not going to be you. And that's why I pointed out that she got very little black support and she was down to 2% of the polls. And you know what? You are not the one that's going to beat Donald Trump. To my fellow residents in California, why are you electing people? You elected her attorney general. You've elected her, your federal senator. She's made a laughing stock of that just by that whole rendition. She never answered the questions, and you're going to see that in the next little clip coming up on that. She never answered any questions of that. You got to get to the point of what's going on. And yes, yes, we do need to come over to the check out the Christmas tree deal. Yes, Lori, maybe we will meander out to Hemet there to check out the Christmas party. We'll talk about that later. But Kamala, you're not going to be the one that's going to be running this deal. And what it is that Californians, please look at the light your elected representatives are shining your state in, and they're a reflection of you because you voted for her. She absolutely had no ideas, no plan to do anything. Basically, what? I was going to carry on the Obama coalition and I was going to fight Donald Trump mainly. I'm trying to rally the left wingers and the blacks and you Latinos just vote for me because I'm it. Well, people are want to see. They don't want to hear about that stuff. They want to know how, what, and why is your track record has been to do that. So get ready to play the rest clip. This is Tulsi Gabbard who's going to tell you why Kamala Harris is not going to be president of the United States.
What Senator Harris is doing is unfortunately continuing to traffic in lies and smears and innuendos because she cannot challenge the substance of the argument that I'm making, the leadership and the change that I'm seeking to bring in our foreign policy, which only makes me guess that she will, as president, continue the status quo, continue the Bush-Clinton-Trump foreign policy of regime change wars, which is deeply destructive. This is personal to me because I served in Iraq. I left my seat in the state legislature in Hawaii, volunteered to deploy to Iraq, where I served in a medical unit where every single day I saw the terribly high human cost of war. I take very seriously the responsibility that the president has to serve as commander-in-chief, to lead our armed forces, and to make sure always, no, I'm not going to put party interests first. I will put the interests of the American people
Congresswoman.
above all else.
I want to brief.
So the reason why you would do that, and the Obama policy, and that, and where they said, the Clinton, I've said it, the Bush Clinton, Bush Obama policies of foreign policies has been way off a kilter. We should not. But the difference between Kamala Harris and Tulsi Gabbard is, as Tulsi said, she served in the military, in the medical unit, and seen the destruction of what's going on over in those foreign occupancies. They're not they are not defense of the United States. They were military occupancies of going to that. And I hope this is to my friends from the center of the right who've defended a lot of this stuff. It's time to wake up and have a sensible foreign policy. You do not put American lives in harm's way to be hurt, maimed, and killed for your own political money-making purposes. That is probably one of the toughest decisions and one of the hardest decisions our elected representatives should have to make. And they should only make it when there is a direct threat against the United States. Obama was on the wrong side of it. Both of the Bushes and Clinton especially were on the wrong side of this. That's There's a funky live guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday, live at 5 on the Evil Bean Network and Rumble and YouTube and X. It was 5 years ago. And 5 years ago today, Kamala Harris quit her first run as president, not to be named vice president for slow Joe Biden a year later, of going on that. But it's funny how all the things, so much has changed, but so much has stayed the same. I mentioned the deal of her being black, or her claiming to be black, and I said, well, she's Jamaican and Canadian. And that became a big blow up in this campaign going on when she claimed to be black, and the whole episode run into that. But that was brought up 5 years ago, and nobody said anything about it. And then it became a big issue of that. But we called it out 5 years ago on the show when she quit of that. And the infamous debate that went on that really sunk her was Tulsi Gabbard, when she destroyed Kamala Harris, the ding-dong of that, and exposed her for the mental midget she is of that. And it's very telling of how we got to the point of, let's say, no return on that. But we dodged a bullet somewhat. I mean, she did get on with Slow Joe of that. Joe wanted somebody on there. Well, of course, with the Clyburn deal. but he could have made a better selection, even though Clyburn had basically forced his hand that it was going to be a black woman for vice president when he said he would deliver South Carolina primary to Mr. Biden in 2020 when they were afraid Bernie Sanders was going to win the election again, like they were in 16 on Hillary. But the issues, the war issues, the same stuff we were talking about in 20, we're having to deal with. Well, actually worse because the Harris Biden administration fouled them up even worse. But it's funny how we're running full circle 5 years to the day later, and Kamala Harris was actually defeated because she was standing in for Mr. Joe going on over there. But I don't know. It's a really, really, really intriguing deal going on of there. But that's a little look back 5 years ago today. Kamala Harris pulled out of her first run at president, defeated 5 years later by Donald J., who's the only president who has defeated both women candidates who were nominated for president on the national scale. Once you got through the primaries and stuff of that, nominated by a major party, Donald Trump has defeated both women candidates. And I heard the ironic part of that is I heard Democrat lady was coming on. I think it was on Mark Halperin's two-way or something. He has all those callers or, people sitting in on the Zoom meeting, regular folks. And they were talking about her, she was a Democrat and rebuilding the Democratic Party and things like that. And she said, no more women candidates. And she said, she said, if it's going to be a woman candidate, it's going to be a Republican. And I tend to agree with that. And I mean, if you I've said this, you put a person like Margaret Thatcher was the Iron Lady who was prime minister, who was, I think, was even a better leader at the time in the 80s than Ronald Reagan was. You put a Margaret Thatcher type up in there, I'll vote for her every day of the week and 9 times on Sunday. So it isn't that, but I agree with her of that. It doesn't work. And I think it's going to be, even though a lot of Kristi Noem, who's going to be HHS secretary, as governor, you got Ivy, and even the odious yokel hokel of New York and things like that. Not saying that women can do it, but, and you look at both, you look at the 3 elections Donald Trump is running, you will see more women have voted for Trump in 16 and 24 when it was Hillebeans and the doofus versus Joe Biden. And all you got to look at the 10,492 studies that have been done. And I will say this, and you can call me whatever name you want, sexist, misogynist, whatever. You go look at practically any study, 2/3, 75% of women prefer to work for a man boss. And I think what that lady said on Halperin's deal today is, for the Democrats, no more nominating women candidates. Because look at this. Look at our last 3 elections. Trump has won the women's vote in bigger percentages in 16 and 24 than he did in 20. That goes to tell you a lot about the differences in the sexes. And please don't use that word gender. It's total butchering of the English.
Training for library staff who are also taught how to recognize and respond to
No,
mental
we don't
health.
need to train the staff. My magical equipment that turns itself on. I guess I must have some AI in here or something that I don't know about because it flips itself on every once in a while. But no, it's one of the great ironies of that. But and you can go look at. We don't have time today to go, but you can look at all the studies that have been done. I mean, that subject's been studied as far as why women prefer to work for men bosses, and you can get all the reasons. And I think most everybody probably knows why anyway, even though they probably don't want to admit or talk about it, because you'll get hammered down. But maybe that stuff's all changing. With Musk getting a hold of X and opening that platform up, the dropping of all kinds of viewership from the net cases like on The View or PMSNBC in general or CNN, all the lies they were fed that they bought into of that, including how great Joe Biden was because he wasn't going to pardon Hunter Biden. They're out of political ammo. They know they're cooked. They can't even defend this stuff anymore, which is, well, I wouldn't say surprising, but nonetheless, I think it's one of the great ironies we have going on. And I believe one day we'll probably get this all, let's say, figured out. But eventually, at some point, we are going to have a woman president. But I agree with that lady. It's probably going to be a center-right conservative type that, and even though you have the liberal women would vote for a Hochul or stuff like that, I think men and conservative women, married women, which most of that, and that's another thing. The Democratic Party is becoming the party of educated elites and young single women. Married women voted for Trump and vote usually center right. So that's just some of the things that we did on that. Another thing, milestone of the day. On this day, December 3rd, 1984, the city of Moreno Valley was born. We voted to incorporate our city after many attempts. I think there was one in the 40s or 50s. I think there was one or two in the 60s. There was a couple, 1970. I remember that one failing. 82, it failed in 82, and it failed in 82 because we got in a fight over the name because it was on the ballot. Do you want to name it Edgemont, Sunnymead, or Moreno? And even though incorporation would have passed, when it came down to select the name and you had to be a majority on that part of it, nobody would do that. So when they did it in 84, they just settled on one name of Moreno Valley and it passed. 40 years ago today, the city of Moreno Valley was born. And as they say, the rest is history. Maybe we'll change our deal too. I don't know. My dearly departed late father never got to see the Reputation turnaround. I don't know if I will live long enough to see it, but hey, hope springs eternity, as they say. You never know. Never say never until till they turn out the lights and sing the party's over. Let's see what we'll get into. Some of the things, interesting stuff happened down at the County Board of Supervisors. A Board of Supervisor said, oh, wait a minute. What about all this accountability and transparency? Your reports say nothing, are very, very vague. And we'll get into a little bit of that rolling through on that. Maybe we'll touch on it here in a couple minutes or segment. But I want to catch that subject. A lot of good discussion. A lot of people brought a lot of stuff up, even the animal stuff. And I didn't know that Fred Rogan of Channel 4 had been on top of the things that were going on with the animal shelter and the contract and the person who's running it and what's been going on at the animal shelter and all that stuff. It was quite intriguing of the report that came out of that, but we shall see. Oh, I want to do this. None other. And I want to hear the whole 187 of California, which was back in 94 when we voted to we didn't say anything about immigration or who should be coming in. We just said no benefits, basically, for people that had come into the country illegally. You would think that would not be a controversial subject, and it passed overwhelmingly, although Felser, the judge, said it was unconstitutional, and then as things changed demographically, they did put a deal on to eliminate that. But we were called racist, white supremacist, KKK members. We've been still called that today. I'm disappointed in some of the people that have done that recently, but hey, everybody's entitled to their own outlook on things. This was the aforementioned Hillary Clinton, who was running for president under the Democratic nomination and got defeated by another man, Barack Obama. And I'm not trying to be mean, but, and later she lost to Donald J. Trump as the Democratic nominee in 2016. This was Hillary Clinton on the campaign trail for the Democratic Party nomination in 2008. Oops, here, hopefully, we go.
So I think we got to have tough conditions. Tell people to come out of the shadows. If they've committed a crime, deport them. No questions asked. They're gone.
Wait a minute. Wait an ever-loving minute. Did Hillary Clinton say people who are in this country illegally, if they're in this country illegally, deport them immediately? Let's roll back just to make sure we didn't mishear that. As you could see her just... Here we go.
Tell people to come out of the shadows. If they've committed a crime, deport them. No questions asked. They're gone.
Deport them. No questions asked. They're gone. I welcome you as a KKK member, white supremacist, racist member of us evil male white hillbillies and all that other stuff. Our champion, Hillary Clinton, over here. More from the Hilly Beans. Here we go.
If they've been working and are law-abiding, we should say, here are the conditions for you staying. You have to pay a stiff fine because you came here illegally. You have to pay back taxes. And you have to try to learn English. And you have to wait in line.
Stiff fine. Pay taxes. Learn English. And get to the back of the line. That was Hillary Clinton in 2008, running for the president for the Democratic nomination. This is after, in 1994, 187 in California were called a bunch of racists. I want to invite everybody in. I want to invite my bud David Lartelis. Please come in here and we'll have a discussion about this. Elena Baca, anybody. Mayor Jesus Christ. Exian Gutierrez, our supervisor. Victor Manuel Perez. Chuck Washington. the new soon-to-be Jose Medina or anybody else. Please come in and explain to me and the world how, when Roy says exactly and has a position of exactly, and I don't agree with her, I cannot stand her. As soon as she opens her mouth, I'm in a foul mood. But again, we had been saying this for decades. Dwight Eisenhower said the same thing back in the 50s. Operation Wetback, go look it up. Barack Obama deported, 3 million? Bill, almost 1 million. George W. Bush, almost 2 million. And these are all 8-year presidencies. Barack Obama, 3 million, which Hillary was Secretary of State in that administration. Again, I invite everyone who's on this other side or has called us racists or hillbillies or 187 and we were a bunch of KKK members and all the whole crap. Bill Clinton, who built the wall at Chula Vista, which was a hellhole, and the community looks like the all-American city now. Learn English. Learn our culture. Follow our laws. If you want to come here, you're coming to the United States of America. We do not want to be China. We don't want to be Russia. We don't want to be Iran. We don't want to be Ecuador. We don't want to be Mexico. I do not want to live under a cartel regime, which is what the country of Mexico is. Man, oh man. I guess it doesn't get any better than that. This is probably why Latino candidates have become the new battleground frontier for political candidates. No, they're seeing the light. As we said this is Imperial County, California. Obama, plus 28%. Obama, 12, plus 32%. Clinton, Hillary Clinton, with the message that the illegals got to get out, 42 plus 42%. Biden down to 24. They weren't buying this. We're going to let them all in. Now, plus 1, Donald J. Trump. Imperial County, 86% Latino. CNN's trying to run the headline over it's a battleground frontier. No. The Latinos, the blacks, those with green, with a horn sticking out of their head, or human beings, the human race is coming to the conclusion we don't want to live like a bunch of slaves. We don't want to live under a cartel, dictatorship, tyrant lifestyle. We ain't done that. We ain't going back. More people are figuring this out. Good old peanut head, James Carville. Try and click this in. You want to see what a disaster the Democratic Party has become? You should have listened to Hillary in 2008. We wouldn't have 10% of the problems we got now. And it pains me to say that.
But the resistance is going to have trouble raising money. These fundraisers are burnt. They're really pissed now. And the damage that the 2024 campaign has done, the damage that this decade has done to the Democratic brand is almost unfathomable. almost unfathomable. But I would say the policy number one is we're going to audit everything. We're going to audit the campaign. We're going to audit Future Forward. We're going to audit the DNC. So people can know. But I'm telling you, without complete transparency, the campaign, we think, raised $1.5 billion. Okay. We know that Future Forward, the last we saw was 900 million, so we can assume that they got to $1 billion before election. That's $2.5 freaking billion. Do you have any idea where that money went? Does anybody have any idea where that money went? I mean, I have some places I started looking. All right. And it's all, Albert, I promise you this. The amount of money and the amount of lobbyists that were involved in this campaign is staggering.
There you go. Now I'm agreeing with Jimmy Carville. $2.5 freaking billion. I don't think with all the PAC money, all that was spent on the Trump campaign, I don't even think they're going to get to $1 billion. And 36 years since a non-incumbent Republican has won the popular vote. Latinos, men, majority voted for Donald J. Trump. Black men, 100% more than 2020, which was about 50% more than they did in 2016, and close to the same thing with black women. Imperial County, freaking California, 86% Latino voted for, in California, voted for Donald J. Trump for president. For precisely the reason that Hillary Clinton said they can see the damage to their community, like the rest of the world got the medicine that the Harris-Biden administration did by, I mean, maybe we had to go through this, but them spreading the illegals throughout the country, putting them in New York City, Chicago, Illinois, Aurora, Colorado, Springfield, Ohio, and all points in between, gave the rest of the world what California, Arizona, Texas, Florida have been dealing with for decades. You know, it's nothing like something, anything, when it affects you. That's when you pay the most attention. When you hear theoretical, or you see it on TV, or you see it happening in another state, there you go. It's, you know, yeah, you can relate to it somewhat, but when it hits you, man, does that give you a whole new perspective.
Can you hear me, Roy?
Yes, I can. Thank heaven for little favors.
Yes.
Of that
30 seconds.
5 years ago today, Kamal Harris pulled out of the presidential race. Almost 5 years later, she got defeated for president. We should be thanking our lucky stars.
Yes, we should. Here we go, 10 seconds.
And roll with the best hillbilly hoedown around.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
Following is a program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producers and are not endorsed by this station. Views expressed are not necessarily those of radio station's entity, its management, employees, or affiliates.
There's a funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday, live at 5:30 on the Mighty Met 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire. The aforementioned AM band, joining our vast video audience, the evil FB network, Rumble, YouTube, X, all those good places going on. Check us out, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, throw some comments in there, rolling around of that. Man, oh man, oh man, just as we said coming in, Kamala Harris pulled out. 5 years ago today, she pulled out of the presidential race. We did a lot of the first part of that. We ran about 5 minutes of the show that we did 5 years ago on this day here on the Mighty Met and IE Newswire going on that. And it, like I said, it's really neat to go back a full circle how we were dealing with the whole issue, and even whether Kamala Harris was black 5 years ago of that. And all of the, it was uncanny, all of this, the talk about how we got into war conflicts and immigration and economy, this and that and everything else. It was a very interesting discussion, and the reason, well, the final nail in the coffin for her was her debate with Tulsi Gabbard back in 19, where Tulsi, who was running for president too at the time, absolutely destroyed Kamala Harris. The other reason this day is significant, at least in my native area, 40 years ago today, on December 3rd, 1984, Moreno Valley became a city. We voted for incorporation after voting against it many times during many of the past decades, but it finally became a city. Maybe an infamous city, and maybe not for some of the most red-hot reasons either, but 40 years ago today, we officially became the city of Moreno Valley, merging the towns of Edgemont, Sunnymead, and Moreno. We'll let you be the judge if that was for the better or worse or what. We even ran the 2008 clip of Hillary Clinton when she was running for the Democratic nomination, and she said, if you are here illegally and you have committed a crime, you are deported, no questions asked. If you're coming to this country and you came here illegally, and even if you haven't committed any crimes, first, you will go to the back of the line. Then you will learn English. Then you will follow all the rules and regulations up until that point. Then we will consider making you a citizen of the United States of America. That was Hillary Clinton. That infamous KKK, white hillbilly male, probably wearing a flannel shirt, whatever the hood and the mask, the KKK, that was Hillary Clinton. How many times have we all who have advocated for those same policies have been called racist, everything else under the sun? And it even pains me to say I agreed on that point with Hillary Clinton, because I cannot stand that woman. If, like I said, when she opens her mouth, or if I see a picture of her, I'm already in the foulest mood possible. And it goes downhill from there. But you want to check that out, go back to the first part of the show. You can see it on IE Newswire and all those platforms, Evil FB Network, Rumble, YouTube, and X. Check her out. It'll be very interesting. Even the more fascinating stuff is how it comes full circle, as we say, on that. It's down at the Riverside County Board of Supervisors. They were off for 3 weeks, so they had a lot of goodies on the agenda. I want to run the first speaker up was Paul Petrella. He's been down there over the past couple of years. I think he started showing up in COVID, and he had some issues with the wine country, what was going on in Temecula and stuff of that. But we shall see. Let me see if I can get the right one up. Oh, here's Paul. Got to get the right video up. Here's Paul Petrella. He kicked, well, first one I'm playing, I don't know if he kicked it off. The first one I'm going for, here we go.
Stunning popular vote for Donald J. Trump to return to the presidency Along with a flip to red Senate and retention of a Republican House, patriotic Americans have spoke, and we will not tolerate resistance from politicians, state or local governments, or the countless administrative bureaucracies and their personnel. The top priorities of the incoming administration should be the same for all levels of government across the entire country, even here in communist California. We must make America great again, which starts here with making Riverside County great again. The top items are, number one, get spending under control. Like Roy Bleckert told you all during your budget sessions, you don't have a budget problem, you have a spending problem. Number two, end the illegal immigrant invasion and boot them all out. Stop aiding and abetting them by providing services and handouts at the local level. Doing so violates federal statute. Number three, restore public safety, protect the honest, law-abiding citizens and our quality of life, and prosecute and incarcerate the criminals. Number four, reverse course on all the DEI, CRT, ESG, and all the woke bullshit. They have all contributed to ruining our country over the past several years. This reversal must occur at all levels of government, especially the local level. These are just the top four of the MAGA and People's mandate. There are many more to come, and this board and the county administrative state must get on board with all of it and not attempt to resist, like Gavin Newsom and the radical left, un-American politicians in Sacramento are strategizing to do right now. The will of the people is clear and not negotiable. I've addressed this board many times over the past few years. I've only asked for two things specifically. One, don't allow STRs to operate in our residential zone neighborhoods. And two, slow down on the constant property redesignations and zoning changes, which have fueled the out-of-control massive growth in the county. You chose to do neither. I've also addressed you on quality of life issues and highlighted the inalienable rights of we the people. I also informed you of who your only true constituents are. Unfortunately, it always fell on your deaf ears or you're not listening. Well, after the recent election, which this time was not compromised like 2020, and the mandate voted for by 77 million Americans, can you hear us now? Resist the people's mandate at your own peril. To quote the board, resistance is futile. Thank you.
Man, old Paul was on it. That was absolutely fabulous. I mean, I couldn't have wrote that. I couldn't have spoke that better myself. Of that, love the hat, love the shirt. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to say it. Don't be afraid to wear a Trump shirt, a Trump hat out in public. It's becoming mainstream. When Imperial County, 86% Latino in California, is voting for Donald J. Trump and president, you know, and I've said this is not a Republican movement, it is a MAGA Trump movement. Now, there are a lot of Republicans in it, a lot of Democrats in it, a lot of independents. Green Party people, libertarians, and everything are coming together under the Trump MAGA movement. And I say, not a moment too soon. Paul was absolutely excellent today on that. And he's right. The number one priority is we don't have a revenue problem in our governments. We have a spending problem. And we'll get to that. Kevin Jeffries and crew of the Board of Supervisors finally picked up on, well, one of the issues that is a real problem going on. Next one up was on the hit parade, as we say. Colleen Strong, she had this to say. Here we go.
In a world where national politics often dominate the media, it is crucial to remember that decisions made in our local communities have a far-reaching impact on our daily lives. Understanding what is happening in local politics is just a civic duty. It is essential to ensure that our voices are heard and our needs be addressed. Local politics shape the environment in which we live, from the quality of our schools to the safety of our neighborhoods. From the availability of healthcare to the infrastructure we rely on every day, these decisions are made at the local level, whether it's the implementation of policies that impact our daily routines. Local politics determine the quality of life for each and every one of us. Ignorance to these issues means allowing others to make decisions for us without any input from the very people who it affects. Moreover, local politics is where real tangible change begins. While national politics might often seem distant or disconnected, the problems and challenges we face locally are much more immediate and personal. Another crucial point is accountability. Politicians at local level are much closer to their constituents, which means they should be more accessible and responsive to the needs of the people. But without an informed public, accountability slips away. We cannot hold our leaders responsible for their actions if we don't understand what they are doing or how their decisions are impacting our lives. The more we know, the better we can advocate for what we need. Decisions that don't serve us, and encourage those in power to act on the public's best interest. The health of our communities depend on engagement of informed citizens. It is not enough to wait until issues become national debate or crises. We must be active participants in shaping the policies that directly affect us. With that being said, I would like to ask the board to remove item 311 until the details of the agreement can be made known to the public. Thank you.
So we have there is no more important thing to realize that you can, what happens in your local governments, county board of supervisors, school boards, city councils, water boards, in your local area, has a much more profound effect on your life, as important as what happens nationally or things like that, has a much more profound effect on your life, and you have much more ability to affect what goes on in your community at your local meetings. It's very difficult to go 400 miles, although it's making it easier with technology. You can comment on the meeting at the Scoundrels of Sacramento. They do allow you to zoom in, which the local areas should do more, which, I mean, they at least allow call-ins at Riverside County. But you have a much more ability. You see these guys in the groceries, guys and gals, they're just like you. They're in the grocery stores or at the park, whatever, at the baseball game or whatever. But again, transparency and accountability, it's not there. They both mentioned that. Colleen's the one that got the Rainbow Pride thing. And we still haven't got an answer why, after she brought it up and we went down there and said, hey, what's going on, why they walked away from an $800,000 contract. And the rules and procedures, it appears, even by the Board of Supervisors, were not followed. Even though after they voted for it, they rescinded it and said they were going to bring it back up as an agenda item. It's like, oh, just poof. Even more surprising, and this is how you will affect things. I've been down there many times, especially at the Riverside County Board of Supervisors, because this is a big contention. When you get to their agendas and you click on their reports and things like that, here's an example as you look at it. But you see that, and you see like the agenda item 16, Emergency Management Department, which, okay, they're extending a guy's contract for $700,000, but the total deal is $1.662 million. Well, where's the other $900,000 go? You click on, you should, those A, B, and C's you see down there, and you can look at the agenda. Those are the staff reports and the documents. It should tell you what, it should give you a summary, not only for us, the citizens, even more importantly, the Board of Supervisors, so they know what the hell they're voting on. That was on today's agenda, and among other things that they vote on. We have no idea what the hell works. But this broke out down there. Item number 356. was to give Microsoft $54 million, $69 million? Who knows? The Board of Supervisors, at least Kevin Jeffries didn't. The rest of them went, huh? I think he was the one that pulled the item. See if it will play. Here we go.
Mr. Tran, my name is Jim Smith. I'm the Chief Information Officer for the County of Riverside. I had a feeling this one might get pulled. It's probably one of the bigger contracts that you've seen in a long time, if ever. This is a countywide procurement for all of our Microsoft licensing services and support. We used to have some separate contracts that we would come forward with support, but in the new master agreement that we created earlier this year, it now includes everything that Microsoft offers, so we can bring them all kind of into one contract, which I think is a little more transparent as far as the spend.
If you're going to be, which the part of putting them all together in one package, maybe, did we look at who, did you put this out to bid? Did you put it out to other software? Maybe if you're going to all in with Microsoft, maybe there's better companies that could provide better software or information or AI technology in different spots. I'd like to see an explanation of that. And where's the money going? When you look at the reports on this, and I looked at it, and I didn't even pull the item, didn't even comment on it. I left after that because I figured they don't, and a lot of times they don't, sometimes, and I mean, I just had more stuff to do, so I didn't get it. So I put this stuff on the record once in a while. But Kevin Jeffries pulled this. And he had a very legitimate reason why. Because it says, well, it's $54 million. It could go to $69 million. Where does it stop? Or what are we buying for $69 million? And how did you come to conclusion that we should package it all into one company? Billy Gates. Here's more at the Board of Supervisors. Here we go. Oops. Let's see if we can get the obligatory. Here. Why is it?
Item number 2, and I apologize for use of this term, it appears to be a slush fund of $15 million to be spent between 2025 and 2027 for no stated purpose.
Yes, it's because of the nature of the product. So the Microsoft agreement historically has been for either perpetual licenses that you buy at a fixed price, or now it's more of a subscription that's still kind of a fixed price for the Windows desktop that you're running and the Office products that you're running, and we calculate that per user.
Why wasn't that in a staff report, even if we're going to be accountable and transparent and all this stuff? Again, is Bill Gates not rich enough? Has he not screwed over this country enough with the COVID and all the other stuff that he was on board with? There should be a process of how this all came to about. I'm glad, and Kevin Jeffries, probably next Tuesday, since he's didn't run for re-election, will be his last meeting. They'll probably seat the other one. He won't even get to vote on this because they did continue it.
Mr. Chair, I'll be voting no. This is a blank check. The Form 11 does not specify exactly how that money will be used, by who and when, and for what. And so with that, I can't support this.
Mr. Van Wagenen, is there something that you can offer up to give Supervisor Jeffries some comfort in the $15 million request?
Not at this time. If we want, we can move this item until next week.
should have been no. Because Kevin Jeffries was 1,842% right. What in the hell are we? $69 million? How many of these, like the Rainbow Pride deal that Colleen found, how many of these, and we discovered this, or this is being brought out, and probably the only reason, like the dude said at the beginning, well, we thought this was going to get, because it's $69 million and it's a big number, well, it got attention. How many of these 2 million housing and workforce deals and everything else going on? 10 million here, $250,000 here, 6 million here, that go blowing by every meeting. The housing and workforce must have been 10, 15, 20 million dollars again. Out of what? $500 million they've blown on this stuff to make housing less affordable for everyone. It benefits a few, the rest of us eat it with the inflation and everything else. This is what they don't get. This is what Paul Petrella is talking about, Colleen Strong, myself, and many others down there. This whole thing with the shelter thing has got me attention. Fred Rogan on Channel 4's been on it. I wasn't aware that he was, but I saw the tape that he made of that with the lawyer that's suing that $2.5 million contract for somebody. Why? To what? Run the animal shelter into the ground like you did DPPS or the Turpin kids? $10 billion freaking dollars almost. That's going through the county of Riverside. And they do some good work. I'm not saying the people that work there that, but man, there's a lot of questions going on. And if they were doing their job, if they were giving us, let me say that, if they were giving us the proper reports, if they were giving the supervisors the proper reports, I guarantee you would have a lot less trouble. I've always said, I'm comfortable with any vote a elected body makes as long as they're making it on complete and accurate information. And $10 billion worth of money per year going through the county of Riverside, the supervisors are making decisions not on complete and accurate information. And most of our agencies do, and it's got to stop. As you know, I've been talking about standing up for our country, doing something. These big box stores stayed open while the little guys closed. Will our voices be heard? Does voting with our dollars work? PatriotSwitch.com gives patriots the power to walk away from the big box stores forever. Stop supporting the enemies of freedom now. That's why PatriotSwitch.com was created, for those who support America. PatriotSwitch.com. Is your car doing the hucklebuck and afraid you will be stuck? Well, head on down to Toyota of San Bernardino, Nissan of San Bernardino, Subaru of San Bernardino, and the San Bernardino Auto Mall, and catch a Camry, look ravishing in a Rogue, or be styling in a Subaru. Don't forget I-10 Toyota in Indio for those of you in the lower desert. You deserve to be the happiest human on the planet. So head on down to one of these 4 great dealerships for the car of your dreams. Spread the word. IE Newswire is now on every Monday through Friday, live at 5 p.m. on Rumble and KMET 1490 AM, 5:30 to 6 p.m. Join all the cool kids who want an eclectic look at the news without all the filters of the evil scoundrels of social media and the despicable dorks of the dominant press. Don't bumble and stumble. Subscribe to IE Newswire on Rumble and roll with the best hillbilly hoedown around. That's it. If you want to buy American, go to PatriotSwitch.com. If you need a new Toyota or Subaru, go to one of Cliff Cummings' great dealerships at San Bernardino Auto Mall at the 10 and 215 Hurryways. Never get I-10 Toyota down in the lower desert. Oh, man, what a day. Again, 5 years ago today, Kamala Harris pulled out the presidential race. You have to ask Willie Brown about the rest of the pullouts, but Moreno Valley became a city 40 years ago today. It's a wonder I stay on the air. I don't know how I do it, but hey, it's fun being me. What can I say? Uh, we'll get after it. I think brighter days are ahead. I think we're making some progress. It's going to be a long, arduous road. You can't give up. You can't turn your back on them. But with some of the things even we saw today at the Board of Supervisors, maybe we're slightly turning that needle. We're turning the corner. We're bending that pendulum back from the very far left. That'll do it for today. We usually say at this time, mandatory, you're back here in 23 hours. Why? You're the best show in the whole wide world. Till then, see ya.
The proceeding was a paid.
All right, Roy, have a good couple days. I'll talk to you Friday.
You got her.